Hello, and welcome to 5-Minute Math. Today we are looking at the 6th grade concept of properties of operations. This is 6.7D Readiness Practice, the advanced version. If you are interested in exploring the 6.7D Readiness Practice for the intermediate or proficient versions, or the Readiness Practice resource aligned with any other standard, you could find those by using the link in the video description. So we have an expression here. We need to create two equivalent expressions, and we have a hint. So let's think commutative property, and let's think of the distributive property. So the commutative property is the property that sometimes we think of as the order property. So we can change the order of addends. We can change the order of factors when we're multiplying or adding, and we get the same answer, right? 3 plus 8 is the same as 8 plus 3, or 3 times 8 is the same as 8 times 3. So let's just do this. Let's keep our minus 3 on the outside here, and then let's just rearrange the addends in the middle, right? I've got a 2a plus 5b plus 1. I could do a 1 plus 2a plus 5b. Right? That's one instance of the commutative property because I'm adding those three terms in the middle. It doesn't matter what order I add them in. You could obviously do that a few different ways on the inside. You could also use the commutative property of, let's get our original order here, the commutative property of multiplication here. Let's say you think of this parentheses as one giant unit. I've got the minus 3 times that, right? I could also have the minus 3 multiplied on the back end. So either one of those work because I would use the commutative property of addition or the commutative property of multiplication there. Now, the distributive property is the one in which we break it apart. So we take our number on the inside, and then we multiply it by all three terms, right? So I'm going to take my negative 3, I'm going to multiply it by 2a. And then I'm going to add, and I'm going to take my negative 3 and multiply it by 5b. I'm going to add, and I have to use parentheses because I've got that negative 3 there. I'm going to multiply it by 1. So that's what the distributive property would do, is it would just take that negative 3 and multiply that by all three terms on the inside. And really, if we wanted to, we could simplify that, right? So you might have done it like that. You might have taken that second step. I can multiply the negative 3 times the 2, and it's going to be negative 6a. Got the negative 3 times the 5, that's minus 15b. And then it's just a minus 3 on the back end. So either one of those would work. All right, so we need to write two equivalent expressions, and now we need to name our properties. Okay, so we have used the distributive property, we have used the commutative property, right? And so let's see, we could use those again. So let's use our commutative property. And we are going to just rearrange the order, right? So we could rearrange the order. We could say, I'll give you a few options here. We can say 8 minus 5a. So you see I just kind of swap those two. Plus 10 and then 0.5a minus 2. Now, if I wanted to use the commutative property for what's on the inside of the parentheses, I need to reimagine this as addition because it only works for addition. But I can reimagine this as 0.5a plus a negative 2. If I do that, now I can do it. So let's get back to the original. Negative 5a plus 8 plus 10. Now I'm going to swap those two. I'm going to do a minus 2 plus 0.5a. So that would also be the same. We could use the distributive property if we wanted to. Whenever you see a number on the outside of a parentheses with two terms or more, two or more terms, you should be thinking I could distribute that. So negative 5a plus 8 plus, and then I've got my 10 times 0.5a, and then minus 2, and then I'm going to just put that times the 10 on the backside. You could have done a plus 10 and then minus 2. Either one would have worked, right? That's the commutative property. You can take those factors and put them in either direction. And if you wanted to, you could simplify this, right? We could say negative 5a plus 8, and then I could have said, what's half of 10? That's going to be 5a, and then minus 20. Okay, so definitely on both of these, answers may vary. There are quite a few that we could have done. Let's go ahead and put that back up here on this first one. Definitely answers might vary on these. You're just looking to make sure that you have the correct operation and property used. So now we need to rewrite this expression for number 3 in 3 different ways. All right, so we need to distribute this, right? But as I distribute this, I could do it in 3 different ways. So let me start with, I'm just going to take my 1/4, and I'm going to multiply that by y. I'm going to take my 1/4, multiply that by 3. Okay, so in the previous problems, how I kept simplifying, I would go from here down to here. I would go from here down to here. Right? That's really what this third problem is asking us to do. They're saying, let's simplify. But when you simplify, things get a little bit strange because you can simplify division in a whole lot of ways, at least 3 different ways. So let's think about it like this. I could, one way, is I could just write this as 1/4 y plus, and now I've got my 1/4 times 3. Well, 3 sets of 1/4 is 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, right? Because it's 1/4 times 3. I can make that into a fraction, 3/1. So I can write this as 1/4 y plus 3/4. Okay, that works. I could reimagine this 1/4 y as, I can put it as 1/4 times y, pretending like y is a number, over 1. You go straight across. You can actually view this as y over 4 plus 3/4. Now, you notice how you have the same denominator in both, right? What if we never really distributed this? We just took this 1/4 and we made that into a fraction, because remember, dividing by 4 is the same as multiplying by 1/4. Those are equal. So I'm going to keep my y over 3, and I'm just going to divide that by 4. That also works because I just kept my original group and I just changed my dividing by 4 into, or multiplying by 1/4 into dividing by the reciprocal, which is 4. So those are 3 different ways that we can use the distributive property to rewrite this expression. If you are interested in exploring this 6.7D resource aligned with the intermediate or proficient version, or the readiness practice resource aligned with any other standard, you can find those by using the link in the video description.